Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. Today is Saturday, December the 4th, 2021. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am here for my favorite podcast of the week in the NBA. That's our Saturday edition because I'm joined by the one and only Mr. Josh Crash Davis. How are you today, Crash?
Doing well this morning. How are you, Coach?
Doing well. Looking forward to this slate. It's a weird one because we have no 7 or 7:30 Eastern game. We don't start the slate until 8 p.m., which is unique, and it's 6 games, so it should be a good one to go over.
Yeah, it should be a good one. The Bucks are playing on this slate, so I'm looking forward to seeing them a little bit, but should be a good slate. There's some good games on here.
I figured you'd have some kind of like black patch on or something because Giannis is doubtful tonight. So
Yeah.
I didn't know if you'd even be able to do the podcast.
No, we persevere. We push through and persevere. So
there you go. At least you got some of those other guys back, right?
Right. I mean, now we got DeMarcus Cousins, so I'm interested to see how he's going to fit in.
Yeah, he's should be interesting for sure,
Yeah.
no doubt. And you're going to sign Wesley Matthews again, I heard?
I guess. Yeah, I saw that. I don't know.
Crazy stuff. All right, well, fantastic. A couple things to announce. First of all, we have a contest today. We figured we'd celebrate the fact that we have a late start. So we're going to have a drawing today for a 1-week membership, all access Coach Talk membership. That's going to take place at 7 p.m. tonight. So normal lock time is when we're going to draw for that. We'll do that right here in YouTube, on YouTube. So all you have to do to qualify to be in that drawing is you have to give the thumbs up and then subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and put a comment, any kind of comment. That's what enters you. And then we'll take all the people that commented and did the other two things there in YouTube, draw from there, and announce it right at 7 p.m. on YouTube. So if you want to get in the contest, you do that. Check back at 7 Eastern so you can see if you won that week membership. And then also on Saturday, every Saturday, we do our Two Brains Are Better Than One FanDuel GPP build, which we will do at the end of this podcast. So stay tuned for the fun stuff, or if you don't want the individual game breakouts, when it's premiering, you have to watch it. But if you're going to watch it after that, you can zip all the way to that part of it if you want. But I recommend, as part of your preparation each day, is, get the contests set so you know what you're going to be in. Check out the podcast, get those initial lineups in, and then after that, then you get in Discord with us and you can finalize those lineups. So
yeah, we have a lot of members and people on YouTube making comments all the time about how our podcast helped them cash, so definitely recommend listening to the whole thing if you got the time. So.
Absolutely. Well, let's make it a quick one so that everybody has time to squeeze it in between Saturday family stuff and working and everything that everybody has going on. All right, 6-game slate. We'll go through our regular breakdown here and give you a good feel. This is an interesting fact today, Josh. There's 12 teams playing, okay? So the funny thing is, one team from each game, 6 teams are on the second night of a back-to-back. The other team is not. In fact, they're on an island game. So we have major advantage for the team on an island game in all 6 games, and then the other team on the second night of a back-to-back. So how does that twist affect things?
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see for sure.
Definitely. All right, well, let's start off with game number 1. No sense in delaying any further. Game number 1 is at 8 o'clock, as we mentioned. It's the Miami Heat and the Milwaukee Bucks. Milwaukee's favored by 5.5. The total is 215. 104.75 implied for the Heat. 110.25 implied for the Milwaukee Bucks. The Heat come in at 14-9. The Bucks come in at 14-9. So one of these teams is going to come out with an advantage in the Eastern Conference standings over the other. The big news is the injury news. Who's not playing is almost as big as who is playing. We know that Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler are already out. So there's no having to worry about deciding that at the last minute. Morris and Oladipo still remain out for Miami as well. And then, of course, like we mentioned at the top of the show, Giannis is doubtful. So, more not going to count him into any of this figuring out beforehand. You've got 2 probables in Cousins and Hill, and then 3 guys, the same 3 that have been out forever, DiVincenzo, Lopez, and Ojale, all remain out. So from a statistical look here, before you give us your analytic breakdown here, we've got, again, like we do in each game, Miami's on the second night of a back-to-back. So not only are they shorthanded, but they're playing 2 nights in a row, and they're on the road in Milwaukee. So that is a rough schedule and a rough happening there. That's surprising that line is only 5.5, but that's just because of Giannis.
Right.
As far as pace goes, Miami's 28th and Milwaukee 9th. So it is a pace-up game for those guys from the Heat that are playing. Offensive efficiency, both teams pretty solid. Miami 6th, Milwaukee 12th. And then defensively, these teams are really solid, and Milwaukee has turned it up about 10 notches. They were 18th like 2 weeks ago, and now they're all the way up to 8th. And then Miami is 11th. So you got, a lot to consider and unpack here with the second night of a back-to-back for Miami. 2 teams, especially on the Miami side, that don't play extremely fast, and 2 good defenses. So you're our Milwaukee Bucks specialist. How do you see this game unfolding?
I really like the value for Miami in this game. You've got Gabe Vincent at 3,900, Caleb Martin at 36, PJ Tucker in a little bit of a revenge game at 3,500, and then Dwayne Dedmon at 3,700. There's 4 guys under 4K on DraftKings. So all those guys, to me, you could use any of them. And then with Jimmy Butler out, Tyler Hero, I definitely want to look at him. I think Jrue Holiday is going to be on Kyle Lowry, so that should open up plenty of opportunities for Tyler Hero in this game. And then on Milwaukee, going back to what happened in 2020 when Giannis was out, Chris Middleton was a very key player in that series, and I think that he could probably put up similar numbers with Jimmy Butler out. He's not going to have to worry about Jimmy Butler's defense. So I think that Chris Middleton's going to be a solid play. With Giannis out, you could look at Bobby Portis. He's 6,400 on FanDuel, 7,100 on DraftKings, and Middleton 7,500 on DraftKings, by the way. And then with Bam out, you could look at a value play in Cousins. But for me, I think mainly I want to look at Middleton and Portis, and then Gabe Vincent, Caleb Martin, and Dwayne Dedmon on the Miami side.
Okay, so a lot of exposure here then.
Potentially, depending on how the lineup construction turns out, but definitely looking at that value on the Miami side.
Yeah. Interesting part here is, who's going to fill in what spots in these lineups. Now, we saw some of it yesterday with the Heat, but on back-to-backs, man, they never pushed Lowry so far. He's an older player, so he's not even in consideration for me for the reason you said. Jrue Holiday's going to guard him.
Right.
Plus, it's a back-to-back. But Tyler Hero's a baby. What is he, 20, 21? I mean, he's such a baby. And I think this, makes it tough to sit him because I think his usage is going to be so high. And, I know Milwaukee's defense has been hugely improved, but I think Hero's one of those key plays. I think at 7.4 is very fair.
Yeah.
Mid-price guy. And then, the guy I wanted to ask you about that I'm thinking about, I know he's super duper points dependent, but Duncan Robinson was making some baskets last night, and he's a streaky guy. At 4.4, he could be a real steal, don't you think?
Yeah, he definitely could. And that is one thing I will say about Milwaukee is as good as they are defensively, they really struggle with three-point shooters. So that's when I was looking at Tyler Hero and potentially Duncan Robinson. PJ Tucker, all those guys, they're in play because, LaMelo Ball and Kelly Oubre were just killing Milwaukee from three the other night. So
yeah,
I definitely think those kind of guys are in play.
Plus, without Giannis as that backstop, it's even tougher to play perimeter defense. You can get out and pressure more, when you have Giannis or even Lopez when he, was back there. But now, you really don't have a true shot blocker back there.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. I also think Dedmon is in consideration. I'm not jumping out of my seat for him, but I think he's at 3.7, he can make a lot of things work.
Yeah,
but
it's a huge jump from DraftKings to FanDuel. He's 58 on FanDuel. So
I know, $2,100 difference. So definitely not a play on FanDuel, but a very good value play on DraftKings. So it's one of those where you really do have to shop the price.
For sure.
As far as Milwaukee, it's first of all, the 5.5 point spread is interesting to me. I just don't know if, as good as Milwaukee's playing, that they struggle that bad with the Heat without, their two best players. So that should be interesting. But, I have trouble when they're playing to distinguish between, when Giannis is in with Holiday and Middleton. But as soon as one of them sit, the other two guys are in play for me. So the big decision I have to make is if this game does stay even close to that spread, less than 10 even, and it stays that way, I think Holiday and Middleton are going to grab the majority of that usage from Giannis. It shows that, you look up Basketball Reference and both of their numbers usage wise go up quite a bit. The other guys all split it up. Allen, Connaughton, Portis, Hill, Hood, Cousins, Nwora, even if he gets in there, those guys are all going to get a little chunk of it, but the majority of it and getting it done and winning this game is going to fall on Holiday and Middleton's hands. So even though it's a lower total than the other games at 215, I think that I'm going to have exposure here. I like the value, hero and the value with either Robinson and Dedmon on one side, and I think Holiday and Middleton are two good guys to go to. So sort of odd that it's the lowest total on the board, and I really like it.
Yeah, I was looking, at Holiday a little bit too, but I kind of feel like him and Lowry are going to cancel each other out, but maybe not.
Yeah, we'll see. It's possible. It depends on how many minutes Lowry gets on a back-to-back.
Yeah.
Because not only has he not been pushed on back-to-backs, he's sat a lot of them. So yeah, that's going to be interesting to see. So we got to keep an eye on that.
So Gabe Vincent would start if he was benched, right?
I would think so. I think that's the way that they would go. They may switch things around, but, that more likely is this scenario. So keep an eye on that. All right, we have the other 8 o'clock game is the Chicago Bulls and the Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn by 3. This should be a fun game to watch.
Yeah.
It's a nice 220 total, 108.5 implied for Chicago, 111.5 implied for Brooklyn. Chicago comes in at 15-8, Brooklyn at 16-6. Both teams playing really good ball. You've got Caruso questionable for Chicago, and then Green, Kobe White, and Williams out. That's Javonte Green. So those guys are out for Chicago. Brooklyn, you got Cam Thomas as probable, and then Duke, Harris, and Irving still remain out for Brooklyn. Statistically speaking, we've got Chicago the 15th pace, Brooklyn 12th. So, a little bit above average to average speed there. You've got 7th and 10th, respectively, in offensive efficiency. So two teams that have been around the block and know how to score the ball. But here's the problem, and this is where I've got to try to figure out, is it worth it? This is tied for the highest total on the board, but you've got the 7th best defensive efficient team in the league in Chicago and 5th in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit scary in itself. And then the last thing before your breakdown, in this game, it's Brooklyn that's on the second night of the back-to-back. So we need to just make sure no one's sitting in that group going into this game. I mean, it's a pretty high profile game, so I do think we'll get everybody to play.
Yeah, and they played each other on November 8th, and it's kind of crazy how the game turned out because the Bulls won the game 118-95, but Brooklyn actually led 78-76 after 3 quarters, and then the Bulls outscored them 42-17 in the 4th quarter.
Wow!
So this is definitely a potentially very close game. Just looking back at that first game, it just kind of got away from him in the 4th quarter. But yeah, you mentioned it with Alex Caruso. So if he's out, I like Ayo Dosunmu as a value play. He's 3,000 on DraftKings. He had his best game of the year against Brooklyn in that game. So that's definitely a value play that I want to look at. Kevin Durant had a really nice game against Chicago. He had 38 points and 11 rebounds on November 8th for almost 60 DraftKings points. So you can definitely look at him. DeMar DeRozan, he's 9,100 on DraftKings. It's a little pricey for me. I probably prefer Zach LaVine over him. He's 8,900, so just a little bit cheaper. And then LaMarcus Aldridge, he had 35 DK points against them in that game. He's only 5,600. So those would be the key plays that I'm looking at in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Durant play at 11-3. I mean, you've got him at 11-3 and Harden at 11-2. So basically, they tell you, hey, you can play one of them, but you're not going to generally be able to play both.
Right.
I like Durant in this matchup, although, I'm interested to see for Chicago if Caruso sits. I think they maybe play Derrick Jones Jr. over Dosunmu, but they'll both play because Jones Jr. is a good defender. I think he's long enough to give Durant a little bit of trouble.
Yeah.
And I think they may start him just in order to guard Durant. So that gets me a little nervous. And as much as I like Durant and as well as he played before, I just want to make sure what that lineup's going to be. Because if Jones Jr. is in there to be the Durant stopper, then maybe Harden is the play.
Yeah.
And neither one of those guys, even though they're both veterans, Harden and Durant, I don't think they ever need a day off. I'm serious. They could play 7 games in a row, 7 days in a row and play like 40 minutes. Those two just never want to come off the court, and they don't seem to get gassed at any point. So I definitely like one side or the other here. Leaning, if it's Jones Jr. in the lineup to start, I'm leaning Harden, but I do want exposure in this game on both sides. So on the Bulls side, it's tough. Again, we're in that dilemma every day. Ball, LaVine, DeRozan, and Vuk, and none of them are cheap. So, who do you go to there? So that's the big question. I mean, for me, from a salary standpoint, you almost want to go Ball just because he's 7'2". The other 3 are all 8'9", 9'1", and 9'4". So a possibility of Alonzo Ball mid-price with Harden right across from him. LaMarcus Aldridge at 5'6" is a nice play, but, again, it's a back-to-back. He is the one guy I think they protect. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets ruled out at some point, which, I still don't want to go Claxton or Griffin or whoever's going to jump into that spot because they may go small and let KD play some center, or James Johnson may get the start there at 3-3. So, there's a lot of things, but we need that news. That news dependent is important. If you're playing a GPP shot, like you said, Derrick Jones Jr. at 3.1 or Dosunmu at the dead min 3 aren't the worst plays, with Caruso out.
Yeah, for sure. Now, going back to the Harden pick, do you think that Lonzo Ball would be on him?
I think so. I mean, that's what I have right now.
Because I feel like Ball's a pretty good defender. I mean,
Ball?
Yeah,
he's pretty good in the fact that he's rangy and he creates some trouble, but I just don't think he's strong enough, to on those drives. Harden bulls his way in there. He's still, scrawny like his brother. They're both super thin, but
I think Harden struggled quite a bit in their first matchup, so that's one thing I was looking at. But
that's true.
Yeah,
that's true. It's going to be a good game, though. I think that's the one I'll watch the most.
Yep, that should be the game of the night. So, well, no, you'll be watching Memphis and Dallas.
Oh gosh, I'm not going to watch that game. I'll tell you what, I just about threw up last night watching that Mavericks game. That was the most pathetic stretch of basketball. Pelicans and Mavericks last night. Oh, it looked like a summer league scrimmage. It was horrible. But anyway, I won't get crying too much on this. Let me get right to it. It's the Memphis Grizzlies at the Dallas Mavericks. Dallas on the second night of a back-to-back after losing at home to the Pelicans in an absolutely pathetic performance. Dallas -6, 105.75 implied for the Grizz, 111.75 implied for Dallas. And to be favored by 6 after that performance says a lot.
Yeah.
Memphis comes in at 12-10. Dallas has fallen to 11-10. They are dropping like a stone. They were 10-4 at one point, so they're 1-6 in their last 7. Yep. You've got injury-wise, you have Brandon Clark is questionable for Memphis off the bench. Then we know that Zion Williams is doubtful. He's getting closer to coming back, though. Anderson, which is a big player for them, Merrill, and then some guy by the name of Ja Morant, they're all out. So you've got this Memphis team limping into town, better than the team that just left town in the Pelicans, but who knows?
Yeah.
As far as the Mavericks go, you have 2 guys, important guys, in the questionable range in Porzingis and then Willie Cauley-Stein. And they're only important because they're in the rotation. So the question is, what is that rotation going to do? And is Kidd going to try to flip something up there? I mean, something's got to change in order to get something going. Statistically speaking, we've got the Memphis Grizzlies 10th in pace. So it is a good pace up game for Dallas. Dallas is all the way down to 27th. And then offensive efficiency, Memphis 8th, Dallas 13th. Neither team playing any defense here, Crash. Yeah. That's why this game should be circled. But, man, you got to hold your nose when you do it. Memphis is 28th and Dallas is dropping their 21st. So you've got 2 teams that are not strong at lacing it up here. So, does Jay Kidd rest anybody from the Dallas side? If not, what do you think this game looks like?
Well, first of all, is Porzingis supposed to play?
Questionable. And it's a true questionable. It's 50-50. Yeah.
Okay. Well, on the Memphis side, you definitely have, the guards, Brooks, Melton, Bain, with Ja Morant out. They all kind of split up that usage. And then obviously we've been doing this all year. We want to attack Dallas with bigs. So Jaren Jackson and Steven Adams are my favorite play for Memphis in this game. Jackson's a little bit more expensive. He's $7,600 on DraftKings, but Steven Adams is $4,200. So that's a pretty good price for him. And then I was looking at Jalen Brunson for Dallas. He's $4,900 on DraftKings. Tim Hardaway Jr. is $5,300 on DraftKings. Memphis is 27th against small forwards. So not a whole lot on the Dallas side here for me. I'm leaning more towards Memphis as far as fantasy plays.
Yeah, this is my least favorite game on the board because you would think, okay, if Morant, well, we know Morant's sitting, and so that's huge. So where does all that usage go? Like you say, Tyus Jones has done job. And then there's other guys that can filter too. And as far as attack, I agree with you. I've done that all year attacking, the interior of Dallas's lack of defense. But Steven Adams is just so washed to me. He just doesn't look like the same guy. And Jackson really doesn't play like a big. I mean, he likes to shoot the 3. He likes to be finesse, out there. So I don't really look at him as, the bruiser inside that can finish with monster dunks, which he can. He can jump out of the building. but I don't always trust him either because he has a tendency to be one of those foul trouble guys. But I will tell you this. I'm going to consider one of either Bain, Brooks, or Jackson, probably to have some exposure on that side.
Yeah.
But on the Dallas side, if you told me that Bullock, Finney-Smith, Powell, Cauley-Stein, Boban, you go all down the line, I could have any of those guys for free, I wouldn't take them because they're going to kill your lineup. You can't trust them. You could get 7 points from them. So the only guys you can even think about are Brunson, who represents himself decently. He would be the only guy I'd really consider because I'm not paying that kind of money for Luka in this situation where they can't even score the ball. And he's 11-5 still. So
yeah, there's no way. Yeah.
No. So, at the very most, I'd be like possibly like a Brooks and Brunson, but maybe only come out with a one-off here.
Yeah.
All right, let's hit game 4. San Antonio Spurs and the Golden State Warriors. This is your blowout alert game of the night for sure. Golden State's favored by 9.5. It's a 220 over under. And you've got implied total for Spurs, 105.25. For the Warriors, 114.75, which is a big fat number. Injury-wise, you've got Bates Diop for the Spurs is doubtful. Vassell doubtful. Collins out. Iguodala has the potential of making his return after missing some games. He is probable, but Clay and Wiseman still out. So, this has Golden State now on the second night of a back-to-back.
Yeah.
The Spurs are rested. So, let's watch the news there because Golden State may let somebody take a day off here because they probably don't need the full squad to beat the Spurs. But you do have one good thing here, Josh, is pace-wise, San Antonio 6, Golden State 8. So they are going to get up and down the floor. And then the Spurs, inefficient on offense, 25th. Golden State, 2nd in the league efficiency-wise. Spurs are 12th, which is respectable defensively. Golden State, as we know, has been in first, the best defensive team in the league throughout. Yeah. So I don't know, man. Does this game blow out, or are you going to play this game?
Yeah, I do think this game is going to blow out. If it somehow stays close, I think that Steph is due for one of his monster games. After having to face Chris Paul 2 of his last 3 games, I feel like he gets a little bit of a break here. But I don't think it'll stay close. So I was looking at Doug McDermott, 4,100 on DraftKings. Juan Toscano-Anderson is 3,300. And then Jacob Poeltl has been very solid. We've been playing him quite a bit lately, so I like him too. And that's about it for me in this game. I think it's going to be, like you said, pretty much a blowout.
Yeah, it's hard here because DeJounte Murray at 10-1 has been terrific. Obviously, Steph is Steph, but 11-4 on a back-to-back when you may blow them out.
Yeah.
So risky, man. I mean, that just reeks of, maybe 30 fantasy points for Steph, and then you're screwed. So
yeah, that's what he got last night. So
yeah. So I don't know if I can do it there. The Spurs, yes, Jakob Poeltl at 6'2" is steady. He's back. He's playing his regular minutes. He's had, like 3 games back from when he was out for quite a while. I think he's probably the best play on the Spurs side for me.
Yeah.
I cannot put Doug McDermott in a lineup again. I mean, he's been so bad this year and just doesn't get the minutes. I mean, his price is tempting and he can hit threes, but man, he can throw some goose eggs on the board. And you really can't trust the rest of these guys. It's just such a rotation of people. The only guy that has done it consistently is DeJounte, but at 10-1 against the best defense in the league, I don't know how you go there either.
Right.
I think where I'm going to go, Josh, is the secondary guys from Golden State. The mid-price guys in Jordan Poole, 6'4", Andrew Wiggins, 6'7", and Draymond Green at 7. You got 3 mid to lower mid-level price guys that should all play strong second banana to Curry unless any of them sit. We'll know that ahead of time. But if they all play, I think you can take two of those three and have a good representation of two of the guys that will be part of, a blowout or at least a high scoring game, because they do have, by a long shot, the highest implied total of any other team on the slate. All right. We've got 2 games left. Real quick mention, if you want to become a part of Coach Talk, we do put this NBA podcast in front of the paywall 7 days a week. But if you want the Discord information, you want to see our analytics projections, all of our information that we're putting in there, all the coach speak, we're following all of the news, all the beat writers, everything, we're putting all of that in a Discord, building those lineups out, and then about 20-30 minutes before lock, we're posting a unique to the industry DraftKings clipboard, which highlights 5 core players. We call them the starting 5, and then it gives you several options to fill in your DraftKings lineup with. We're also giving you a full FanDuel cash/hybrid, which our hybrid is single entry GPPs. We're giving you that lineup and then a separate lineup for the GPP only, multi-entry GPP. And we do the same thing on Yahoo. So, we're going to supply you with what you need to win. And, our Coach Talk motto here and what we try to coach our members to is long-term sustainability, where you are successful enough on a daily basis that you're building and not reloading. So we've had great success at it so far. Go to dfscoachtalk.com. You can become a member for as little as 3 days for $10. So if you join today, you've got all of our basketball action today, tomorrow, and Monday. You get all of our football action tomorrow and Monday for the Monday night game. So a great time to join. All right, here we go. 2 more games. And this game is a 10 o'clock game, as is the last one. So we do have 2 late nighters. We may have to put out an after hours. Oh, I may have to do that. We want to say happy birthday to Crash's wife, because big birthday here. And I know they're going to be out celebrating tonight. So if there is an after hours slate, I will be posting that solo. But Mrs. Crash, happy birthday.
Hannah is her name.
All right. Beautiful. All right. Here we go. Clippers, Kings. Clippers by 1.5. That's it. 216 is the total. 108.75. Clippers is the Clippers implied. 107.25 for the Sacramento Kings. A smaller spread than I would have expected. Clippers are 12-11. Sacramento is 9-14. The reason that spread is low is because I believe that Vegas thinks that Paul George will not play. He has a questionable tag right now, and that spread tells me that it looks like he may be out. So that changes the complexion. They're also missing Batum, Leonard, and Preston. Sacramento, on the other hand, they have Woodard being is probable. Harrison Barnes, a big part of their lineup, is doubtful, and Mo Harkless is out. So interesting game here. How do you see this one unfolding? Let me give you the stats first. Then you can give us your deal. Remember, second night of back-to-back for the Clippers, probably the reason they want to rest George.
Yeah.
13th and 4th in pace. So good pace in this game. Offensive efficiency, Clippers 23, Sacramento 16. Defensively, the Clippers are tough at third, but they're certainly not third without Paul George in there. And Sacramento isn't defending well at all. They're 26th. So what do you think?
Yeah, so they just played each other a couple days ago, and Sacramento actually won that game 124-115. So that's 239 points right there. So if they combine for something like that, it'll obviously have the highest total on the slate. I think, George, if he sits, then you probably want to look at guys like Reggie Jackson. Potentially, what do you think? Terrence Mann, would he come off the bench and start? Or do you think it would be Kennard?
what I have plugged in right now possibly is Jackson, George, Morris, Ibaka, and Zubats with Bledsoe and Mann in the mix there. So if George sits, then I'm thinking Bledsoe starts, and that would be that's where they go.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And then, Sacramento has been the worst in the league against centers. So Zubac would come into play. He's 4,900 on DraftKings. Darren Fox had a really nice game against the Clippers in that game. He had 43.8 DraftKings points. He's 8,200 on DraftKings. For value, you could look at Davion Mitchell. He had 31.3 in that game, and he's only 3,400. And then Terrence Davis is 3,500. He had 38. So those three guards for Sacramento, and then Zubac at center for the Clippers would probably be the key play. If George plays, then I would want to have him too. But
yeah, for me on the Clippers side, I'm going to anticipate George is going to sit just after seeing the latest Vegas line. So for me, Reggie Jackson and Marcus Morris are my favorite two plays on the Clippers side. I really like Morris at 4.7. He's always been one of those guys that comes through for me when I play him. So I wouldn't mind dialing him up. My concern with the big, I agree with you, Sacramento doesn't defend them well, but now that Serge Ibaka's back in the mix, he and Zubac are both sort of 4/5. Yeah. Really, Ibaka's a 4/5. So they both grab rebounds or get an extra block or whatever. So there's a little bit of pulling some of each other's usage and actual DFS points from each other. So that's a bit of a concern. But, let's see what that starting lineup looks like. You may get also a 5.1 Bledsoe on the cheap that could be a decent play, or a Terrence Mann at 4.8. But for me, I'm looking mainly at Jackson and Morris with George out if he sits. On the Sacramento side, I've been sticking with Fox here, 8.2, and he's been sometimes good, sometimes not so good. So not sure I want to go up to that price. I'd like him at about 7.7, 7.8, but we'll consider him. Halliburton, again, he's a hit or miss guy, and 6.3 isn't a giveaway.
Yeah.
Right now, it seems like, since the new coaching change with Gentry taking over, he seems to really like Terrence Davis. They're actually even running some plays for him, and he's only 3.5.
Yeah.
So he may be the go-to value on the slate thus far. And then Metu, look what he did at 4.6. It looks like he's going to get a good role in Gentry's offense. After that, you've got a fair-priced Holmes at 6, and then Buddy Hield at 5.9 and Davion Mitchell at 3.4 are the two guys I would consider off the bench. So a lot of playable commodities here. We need to finalize the George news both on offense and defense, so we have to follow both of those, and then we'll just take it from there. But I think there's definitely some playable guys on both sides of the aisle here. So we're getting some dog issues here. Somebody's going to get in trouble. All right. So anything else on that game?
No, I was just going to point out that you mentioned Terrence Davis is 3,500 on DraftKings. He's 5,500 on FanDuel. So anytime you see that kind of price discrepancy, that's a red alert that you should probably play that guy on DraftKings.
That is a big, big difference for sure.
Yep.
Good point. All right, last game. Let's wrap it up. Boston at Portland. Boston on the second night of a back-to-back. So the theme of one team on the second night of a back-to-back out of every game, and the other team an island game, is really another bizarre thing for this slate. But it is Boston -1, 217.5 total, 109.25 for Boston, 108.25 for Portland. Boston comes in at 12-11, Portland at 11-12. Injuries, you've got Jaylen Brown questionable, obviously major news because that changes everything for Boston. Langford is probable, so they may get him back into their rotation. And actually, I have one report that Jaylen Brown out. So there you go. Okay. I have the latest one where Brown went from questionable to out. So that makes it a lot easier breaking this game down. Portland, Lillard remains out for a while, Nazir Little, and Anthony Simons is out now.
Mm-hmm.
So we may have a Dennis Smith favoritism on this slate, which is bizarre out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But so that's going to be interesting for this game. As far as statistically speaking, we've got Boston 24th in pace, Portland 18th. So that's not helpful. Boston's only 20th in offensive efficiency, Portland 9th. But defensively, Boston is 10th, very respectable. Portland second to last, 29th in the league defensively. So it does open up some potential plays here. Who do you like?
Yeah, so you mentioned it briefly there with Dennis Smith Jr. with Anthony Simons out, 3,400 on DraftKings. So I like that. I don't like CJ McCollum in this game. I think that he's going to see Marcus Smart's defense. So Norman Powell would be a potential play for me at 5,200. And then 7,300 at center, Jusuf Nurkic. Decent price for him. He's averaged 44 fantasy points in his last 3 games against Boston. So he's in play for me. And then obviously with Jaylen Brown out, you want to look at Jason Tatum. He's 9,800 on DraftKings. He might be my pay up guy on this slate. It's kind of looking like that. And then Al Horford, he's 6,800. I like him too.
Yeah, I think Tatum seems like the most obvious pay up option to me at 9.8 with Brown out. I think that that makes the most sense, and he'll probably get guarded by Norman Powell, but I think he can still really score the ball. So I like him. I don't know if I want to jump on the chalk bandwagon of Dennis Smith Jr. Yeah. He's just everybody's going to plug and play him at 3.4, think he's going to get massive minutes. I'm not sure he gets as massive of minutes as everybody thinks because, CJ can play point. He is a point guard. And you can always go with Tony Snell and Ben McLemore and, they dust those guys, maybe even a CJ Ellaby, who knows. But I'm not as sold on Dennis Smith. I get it, but I think there's enough value and more value that will open that you may be able to avoid a chalk that gets you 15 fantasy points. So I may not go there. I do agree with you that CJ is going to get smart defense, but I still think CJ is doable with Lillard off the floor. His numbers just are ridiculous. And I know it's, Boston defense is really improving, but I'm not going to count out CJ. I may go into that last game, which I haven't recently had much exposure late, but I could have a Tatum versus CJ standoff here in this last game.
Yeah. I mean, I could see it because CJ is such a strong scorer one-on-one and stuff like that. So, I mean,
definitely. All right, man. Don't forget, for those that are listening here, we're going to build this 2 brains are better than 1 lineup right now on FanDuel. We will be posting that in Discord. In Discord tonight, so for our members, the DraftKings clipboard will be posted by Josh or from Josh through me if he's at his wife's dinner. And that will give you that core 5 and then the rest of your players to choose from. I'll put up a FanDuel hybrid cash lineup. And then this lineup we're building right now will be the GPP lineup. And then I will be posting the 2 lineups on Yahoo, the cash and GPP. So, Mr. Josh, I will allow you to have this first pick, as long as it's not a buck. Or you're going to probably take a Green Bay Packer.
Really. Wrong sport, wrong day.
Can we play Aaron Rodgers at small forward?
Yeah, they're actually on a bye this week, so definitely not going to play any Packers this week.
Well, that's more the reason why he could suit up and play hoops.
Yeah, he could play it. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to go.
Yeah, my son and I went to the Mavericks game where they had Tony Romo in uniform.
Oh, really?
Yes, he had an honorary game. In fact, the Mavs have that at the end of the court where they have everybody that ever suited up for the Mavs listed on the floor. Tony Romo's on there.
Wow.
He was officially on their roster, but they weren't allowed to play him, and he faked like he was checking in a couple of times, but they didn't put him in.
I'm going to go with the play that we recommended earlier. I think that you're right. He could possibly sit tonight, Kyle Lowry. So I'm going to take Gabe Vincent at 4,500.
Wow. Who would ever guess in a million years Gabe Vincent being the first choice on the board? All right, I'll go, since I'm the cash money guy, Jason Tatum.
All right.
I'm going to put him at small forward.
Okay.
How's that for a fast, put you right back on the clock? It's like speed chess.
Yeah. All right, Darren Fox.
I've been playing him so much. I've had him like almost every game since Gentry took over. So he is due for one of those gigantic games. I want this is in the anticipation that George sits. I think I'm going to go Marcus Morris at power forward because he's cheap. That makes sense.
Did I overlook him? Where is he?
It's $4,300.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he's way down there. Okay.
Yep. I like going on the cheap.
I'm going to take... Let's see.
There's a couple
Terrence Davis, shooting guard.
Who?
Terrence Davis.
Yeah, I like that pick. He was on my radar as well because he's only 5,500. You know, what the heck? Jaren Jackson, if he gets in foul trouble, I'm going to go through the TV and smack him in the head.
I almost picked him too. That's funny.
I'm going to take him at center.
Okay.
Or do you want me to take him at power forward? Do you have a center in mind that you wanted?
I kind of do, so let's leave that open.
Power forward, Jaren Jackson, 7,200.
All right. I'm going to go with Jalen Brunson at shooting guard.
Okay. There's our Maverick dude, Jalen. So, well, go ahead and take your center and then tell me what I have left for small forward.
Okay.
Which center were you looking at? Jakob Poeltl?
No, I think I'm going to take Dwayne Dedman.
Okay. That's fine. How much is he?
58.
He's overpriced on FanDuel, man.
Yeah, he is.
38 on DraftKings, right?
Let me
37.
Let me go ahead and take Draymond Green.
Oh, Draymond, I like that pick too. He's 69. That gives me 9,100 for a small forward. Well, if Paul George plays, he's 9,100.
I saw that. I was like, well, that worked out perfect. But yeah.
No, it did not. So now we're in this quandary. Doggone it.
Well,
I guess Tyler Hero I want for sure. That was my pick. But that gives us 1,800. So I'll take Hero and let's go up by 1,800 somewhere.
Okay.
Let me look at one thing here. Is there any way we could go from now? That's not going to give us enough. I'd like to get, can't
what do you
do
think
that.
about Reggie Jackson?
Reggie for who?
For Vincent.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
I love that.
It leaves us with 600. So I like that as a GPP. Leave 600 on the board.
So I'm good with this lineup, and we don't need to spend the extra money today. There's no reason to.
Yeah.
So we have Reggie Jackson, Darren Fox, Terrence Davis, Jalen Brunson, Jason Tatum, Tyler Hero, Marcus Morris, Jaren Jackson, and Draymond Green. There is our GPP FanDuel 2 brains are better than one lineup for December 4th, 2021. Let's take it down.
Yep, I like it a lot.
All right, man, that is the word. We got it done. And my dog's about to lose his marbles. So
I'm going to get to him.
We're going to close this out. and it's doggy style here. He's letting it go. Tomorrow is only a 5-game slate, and I'll be on for that one. And then we'll take it from there. So any final words from your side?
No, I think I really like how this FanDuel lineup came together here at the end. So I definitely recommend everybody to get that thing in early and reserve your entries, and let's crush it.
Well, we have the dog's approval, so we know it's a good one.
Right.
Well, appreciate it. And thanks, Crash. It's been fun. Enjoy. Again, your wife, happy birthday from everybody. Enjoy your evening out, and I'll get all that posted. For members, we won't be posting till 7:35, which is weird, but 8 o'clock is the lock time for the 6-game slate. So we will get you posted there. So appreciate everybody listening in. We appreciate, remember the contest. Here you go. Hit the subscribe button, thumbs up, quick comment, and then we'll have a drawing. I'll be on here at 7 in YouTube to announce the winner and post it right here with the comments for a 1-week membership at Coach Talk. All right. For Crash Davis, I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach. We'll catch you again tomorrow when we look to crush it in NBA DFS.